Friends and enemies, welcome back to a sip and rip. This is what day is it today? The 16th of November. It's not even 7 a.m. And I was getting the clips ready for this show and thought to myself, man, I gotta record this now because I'm just laughing at all this stuff. We got so much more on the cutting room floor this week that I'm not even gonna be able to talk about because I just don't have time. But anyway, it's sponsors, EasyDNS, Bull Bitcoin, 256 Heat. Mark's got you if you want to start a website, start a business, do your DNS stuff, virtual private server stuff. He'll take care of you there. If you want to buy and sell Bitcoin, Bull, obviously the place to go. And then Twan over 256 Heat, you can heat your house, man, with a miner. Mine is running hot right now because it's cold outside. We like that. You guys like it too. So go use those guys. Patronize the sponsors. We're drinking a K-Cup this morning, and I gotta tell you, I'm just laughing here. This is a tweet from Bill Ackman. I mean, there's obviously a problem with guys these days. I think in a lot of ways, it's hard to pick up a girl. I feel fortunate that I didn't have to date in this environment. I always talk about how I met my wife the old-fashioned way, at a bar, through a friend. And, we did the usual kind of courtship dance over the course of a month or two and, started dating and became exclusive and all that. And it worked out fantastically. We have a little one now and things are great. But, it was before Tinder really put the Pareto principle into focus, like acute focus for guys, where you're really fighting an uphill battle if you're trying to pick up these days. I don't think that Bill's strategy, asking women, may I meet you at a bar, is the way to go. My suggestion would be, I can't even say it with a straight face. My suggestion would be lift weights, dress well, make sure your breath doesn't stink, comb your hair, and, put yourself out there a little bit. Make sure you're in situations where you may find a partner. The most important thing is showing up in a lot of different facets of life, and I would say dating is among them. Don't know that asking someone, may I meet you, is the way to go. But Billy, we appreciate your commentary, buddy. Let's talk about friend of the show, Millennial Moron. He's one of my favorite creators, and at the risk of drawing eyes away from my own program and content to his, I have to highlight the great work he's been doing on the budget. There's a couple of things here that bother me about the way the budget was handled by specifically the media, and maybe even more problematically, the opposition. The conservatives haven't looked at the budget, I don't think. They probably will look at these videos that he made. I'm sure these are floating around the party. I think the last I looked on YouTube, these videos had like 50,000 plays. They've only been out for a couple of days. So he's doing numbers over there. And also has a Canva membership like the rest of us. We're all just putting stuff on fire in the thumbnails. This is the clip that I want to show because obviously Carney and the Liberals did a great deal of chit chat during the election campaign and leading up to the budget, the PR push that these guys really made. They did a lot of talking about operating versus investing. What is the difference between operating and investing? Operational budget is something that they want to balance. So it's services and whatnot, public service, public sector, et cetera. And then investment would be, as Red Pill Rick points out, which is a good account, even though I don't follow it. Capital investment is stuff that's going to help grow the economy, better the country, things that Canadians can expect a quote unquote return on. Now, the obvious sort of, catch-22 here is that if it was truly investment, what you would expect to see is a monetary return. And if there was a monetary return to be had, then the private sector would be doing it. They're not doing it. And so can you really say it's capital investment? I don't know. But Millennial Moron did some digging because that's what he does. And I want to show this clip from him before we go on any further.
Now, here's the thing, and this is what absolutely nobody is talking about as far as I've seen. I wanted to know how much of our existing spending was considered to be capital investment under this new definition, and what the operating budget balance was before the new spend less, invest more plan. If Carney is actually doing what he says he's doing, then looking at the baseline Trudeau-era numbers should show us a big operating deficit that wasn't on track to balance out in the future. So down here on page 232, I found their baseline capital investment spending numbers before any policy changes were made, and compared that to the overall budgetary balance projections from the 2024 fall economic statement. And it turns out, according to the definition they're using for capital investment, the operating budget was already balanced before Mark Carney took office. I put together this chart showing the operating budget balance starting in 2024 for the status quo projections from the fall economic statement, and as you can see, it's already in a surplus in 2025 and every year going forward. In other words, in his campaign to become leader, Carney said the Trudeau Liberals lacked fiscal discipline and he would bring the operating budget back into balance in 3 years by spending less and investing more. Then they defined capital investments so loosely that the operating budget was already balanced under this new definition, then added so much new spending that the operating budget won't be balanced until 2028.
He's throwing his hands
Balancing
up in
the operating budget by starting with an assumption that the operating budget already is balanced. Classic economist move. This isn't so much fiscal discipline as it is just putting a balanced budget on our vision board and manifesting it. Personally, I'm kind of surprised that the budget has been out for a week now and nobody in the media has picked up on this yet. For that matter, the Conservative Party hasn't picked up on it either, maybe because they aren't actually reading the budget that carefully. I mean, you only know about it because you subscribe to an unpopular YouTube channel that started out as a TikTok comedy series.
Just great stuff. Like, this guy is brilliant. I like his stuff. We don't agree on everything. You know, he was on the show a little while ago talking about Bitcoin. We don't agree on that, but like, it's just so easy to look through a budget and ask a question about what is operating, what is capital, and how are they defined in the past, and look at the accounting for them. He's done it. No one on the conservative side has done it. There hasn't been a single press release, media clip. Andrew Scheer hasn't said anything. Poilievre's still talking about the same nonsense. Terrible politician, terrible politics from that side of the aisle. And it's no wonder that people are crossing. Worth noting, although I don't have it in the tabs here, it's worth noting that I don't want to say liberal government, but they're in power, and so they've put out a new job posting for a PBO chair. And the Parliamentary Budget Office is supposed to be arm's length and give good information not only to the press and the public, but also to politicians about how their spending is going to affect the budget and the fiscal picture for the country. They're now, after the last 3 months of Jason Jacques going out on every media outlet that will have him and roasting basically the liberal budget and spending plan. Now they're trying to fill his seat because he's interim. They're trying to fill his seat with someone who has discretion and tact. Incredible stuff from the Liberal government in terms of transparency. So I recommend going to watch this video. It's about 15 minutes long, I think, from Millennial Moron, but you have to see the stuff that is in this budget. It's crazy. Len and I talked about it a bit, but we didn't dig in this deep. Again, at the risk of pulling eyes away from my own content, this guy's smart, man, and he's doing a good job. He's apolitical, which I like, and I think he's genuine in his intentions, which I also like. He's trying to do it for Canadians, not for either political party. Let's move on. Sign of the end times here. Options trading, too hard for normies. So they have this, it looks like gamified options platform. I'm going to play the video. If you're on audio only, you might want to just head over to YouTube and look at it. It's very short, but it is hilarious. It's like a tap to bet options trading platform. I mean, this can't be the financial market. He's going long and short on Ethereum by tapping squares on a grid as the price moves. From what I can only imagine is a 1 minute chart, it looks like. So, pretty wild. I would say, yeah, this is bad. It's very bad. Very bad stuff. Let's keep moving. We also have this clip from Red Pill Rick again, a second time. Again, it's early in the morning. Sorry about that, but this Millennial Moron video is something you got to watch. Let's talk about what's going on in Vancouver. Vancouver, obviously, in the news because they're basically giving land away to natives because someone's great grandfather fished somewhere a bunch of years ago. I don't know what the story is there. Talk about not being able to read the room. Vancouver Sun running an opinion piece yesterday. The title, "How long must I live in Canada before I am no longer a colonist or a settler?" Like, I get that there's some commentary floating around about this stuff, but I would say that it's best to just leave this topic alone and start treating this differently. My suggestion, as I've mentioned on the program before, my suggestion is just to laugh, dismiss, and eventually stop engaging with the Aboriginal community. I hate to say that because it's not all Aboriginals that are like this. In fact, I think it's mostly band and tribe leaders and other authority figures in these communities. I know I live in Dundas, but when I lived in Hamilton, there was a story back in 04, 05, 06 with the band that lives out in Caledonia. Those those native territories, they basically blocked off, I think it was the Argyle Street Bridge, with a tire fire for weeks. And I remember at that time, when I was a little more liberal, a lot more liberal, one of my positions was that we should engage with the band. And obviously I was in university at that time. And so, the poison was coming in all directions as far as like my thinking. In retrospect, and looking at this sort of story in Vancouver now about the land claims, in retrospect, the solution is to disengage completely and tell them to follow the law of the day, not the law of 200 years ago. Those deals, good, bad, ugly, or otherwise, are no longer binding. I would say that we've given tons of money to bands all over the country. I think, it's been 12 billion or something over the last 10 years or 20 years. I can't remember exactly how much it was. And then famously, especially because of the Kamloops thing, the idea that there's anomalies or whatever, that band that made that claim was given millions of dollars to dig on those sites and refused to do it. They took the money, never did the dig. That should tell you everything you need to know. I'm not going to go any further than that. Let's talk about what's going on in the States. Oh my God, you can see in these advertisements, I've obviously bought tons of boots in the last little while. Another socialist wins in Seattle. We just had Mamdani win in New York, and now we have Katie Wilson winning in Seattle. She's 43 years old, lives with her parents and off of her parents' money. There's a physiognomy element here. Like I can smell this photo, like the kids like to say. Just greasy hair, no sort of put together image here. Clearly no media savvy person working on the campaign. And, she's managed to win an election based on, again, unaffordability, I think, in a lot of ways. I've heard her speak about progressive tax ideas she has, which of course is just a farce at this point. It's taxing the rich more to pay for the parasites in society. Seattle, obviously, an incredibly liberal city, completely gone the wrong way over the last 5 years, 10 years, and continues to go that direction faster and faster, which is nuts to me. I will note that I just saw a advertisement for Fresh Breath pop up on this video, which is funny because I think a lot of people watching this video probably need that. This campaign was driven by a deep belief that we need to expand the table to include everyone in the decisions that impact their lives. That's what we'll be working to do every day as we set up this new administration. Wilson secured her win by advocating for progressive proposals, including introducing city-run grocery stores and taxing the rich. Where have you heard that? Also vowed to Trump-proof the city. These people are not serious people. They're clowns, and they're voted in by people who are stupid. The problem, like I've said a million times, is that soon stupid people will outnumber smart people in a lot of these major metropolitan areas in the States and Canada. It's already happening in Toronto, Vancouver, and other places. And so you have two choices as someone who's a net producer. You can either stay and, submit to this humiliation ritual where somebody who's never done anything in their life and lives with their parents tells you that you're not paying your fair share, or you can leave. And I think a lot of people are going to start leaving. We're seeing that all over the place. Let's listen to Miss Wilson here talk about how she's not going to let grocery stores close stores anymore. Interesting. Good idea? Bad idea? I don't know. Let's tune in.
Access to affordable, healthy food is a basic right. We cannot allow giant grocery chains to stomp all over our communities, close stores at will, and leave behind food deserts. Together we can build a Seattle where fresh food is for everyone, not just for those who can afford it. Food deserts are not natural. Corporations create them when they abandon our communities. As mayor, I'm excited to step up and with UFCW explore public option grocery stores to fill those gaps. We will access.
Food deserts has always been an interesting concept to me. It's a relatively new concept as far as mainstream coverage. I hadn't really given it much thought until a couple of years ago when I started to see a lot of it doing CBP. The food desert idea only holds, I shouldn't say it only holds weight, but the reason that people care about food deserts is because if you find yourself living in one, you do have a problem getting food on the cheap and somewhere close by. So if you think about somebody who's low income, they don't have a car, they don't have a means to travel, maybe you don't have time because their job is a little unforgiving as far as scheduling or hours. So yeah, getting food becomes harder and you have to pay more to get food that's more convenient. So whether it's fast food or delivery or whatever, I get that. the thing that none of these people talk about, and so Greasy Katie is, committing the same crime here. The reason the food deserts exist is because there's too much crime, too much danger, and not enough money to be made in the area where the food desert pops up. So whether it's, a grocery store or a gym or whatever, there's not really an incentive for those places to exist where everyone is stealing, committing crime. And by the way, any action you take against a criminal or a thief is viewed as undemocratic. It's viewed as capitalist. You need to be eaten. You need to pay more taxes. Like, all these things are said all the time. It's not a figure of speech. It's not an exaggeration. People like this and their supporters are saying this stuff all the time. And so why would you ever operate in a place like that? I would love to know by what mechanism Katie thinks that she can keep grocery stores open. Is she going to fund them? Is she going to hire the people to work there? It sounds like she wants to run government stores, like I said. Maybe not. I don't know. But there is no mechanism to force private businesses to operate in your jurisdiction. They want to make money. They have a fiduciary responsibility in a lot of cases. And the idea that any of these people can do any of the things they're talking about, whether it's Wilson or Mamdani, to force private business to do things, private business will either do what they want in your jurisdiction or they will leave your jurisdiction. That's how private businesses work. Let's talk about this story. This is a crazy story. Ontario quietly introducing $700 a day home care to relieve hospital overcrowding. I am so anti-immigration now that it honestly colors everything I see and think about. And in this picture, they have a woman wearing a hijab getting her blood pressure taken at presumably a hospital set. It's crazy to me that they've chosen this picture. CP24 is left-leaning. They can deny that all they want, but if you look at their coverage of basically everything, they're left-leaning. So for them to choose this picture tells me they're trying to get me to say something that I shouldn't say. But I do think there's a case to be made here that one of the big problems we're having in hospitals is increased immigration. Now, there are other ones too. I work, obviously, or volunteer on a board for an inpatient addiction agency. And so I know that addictions and concurrent disorders are a problem too. And then, of course, there's seniors as well. And the changing demographics require hospitals have more capacity, both in terms of the treatment available and in terms of the staff available to administer that treatment. And I look at like the way that the government of Ontario specifically, because I live in Ontario, has chosen to spend money or not spend money on hospital capacity. And it's frustrating because we pay tons of tax here and have some of the biggest cities in the country, and we just can't get it right on the hospital side. The other thing that's frustrating, and I've said this before, is that, if you look at the sort of available options in healthcare, there's already two tiers in Ontario. I've talked about my own experience kind of getting into tier 1, and everyone else is in this sort of tier 2, and now I would say home care is, tier 3. You're going to bring in a person who probably doesn't know everything about your condition. They're privately owned, by the way. So these $700 a day care agencies, they're being contracted out. It's not a provincial employee. And, you don't have to look far and wide to see issues with abuse, theft, violence, exploitation, especially for seniors, where they're being treated at home. Oftentimes, the reason the senior is treated at home is because they don't have family or friends who can help them. And so by the same token, they don't have family or friends who can spot problems with the care they're getting. I don't think it's all home care, people, home care staff who have these issues with theft and whatnot. But I do think there's a pretty high volume of issues and a high percentage compared to that of what you could expect at a hospital. Not necessarily because the people are better, they probably are, but not necessarily because of that, but because of the controls in place at a hospital that just aren't in place at a private setting. So you have these issues here. $700 a day is a lot. I don't know a lot of people who can pay that. And I think you're going to see continued kind of weird policy rollouts and changes in what you can expect as an Ontarian or Canadian in terms of your healthcare. Because there's just no way that they can meet the needs of another million people every year, their families. Now we're running anchor baby immigration policy, which we'll talk about shortly. And there's just not enough doctors. We talked with Brian Day and Mohammed Zarabian on CBP, I don't know, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And it's funny listening to both men in different times in their career, different jurisdictions, different disciplines, both say the same thing about especially support workers, which I think this captures. Support workers are being trained here and then going to the States to work, and basically any opportunity they're given, because the pay is so much more and the burnout is so much less in a private Medicare setting, medical care setting. You can say what you want about our system and whether it's a golden goose or something that needs to be reviewed, but clearly it's headed the wrong direction right now, and it's something we need to work on, because this $700 a day is not a reasonable policy position. It's simply untenable long term. This is a favorite story of mine from the last little while. I have to read more about this, but Germany is going to build a database of young people detailing their fitness, aptitude, and outlook to help it pick whom to draft should the country be attacked. That's in the Wall Street Journal. This is very funny to me, because Germany and other countries, Canada, basically every European liberal democracy has spent the last decade telling you that your country has no culture or history worth defending. In fact, it's a criminal and colonizing history. Germany especially has a lot of demons to deal with from the last 100 years or so. And it's funny that Germany is adopting what probably could be described as a Hitler adjacent policy on military drafting here. I don't know what to say about this. Germany is obviously one of the countries that's really committed cultural, economic suicide over the last 5 years. They've imported tons of third world migrants who have done nothing to help the country. They've been easily a net negative, and that's probably too kind phrasing. Not to mention that they chased out so many good people, so many good Germans, thanks to insane economic policies, insane energy policies. And one of the things that's not mentioned, at least in the tweet, and I don't see it in the comments either, but I bet if I read the article and do some follow-up in the next week or so, you will start to see, well, why does Germany think they're going to have to go to war? And the big reason that no one will talk about is, of course, energy. Energy dependence on Russia crushed Germany over the last few years. And everyone has seen that video by now of Trump during his first term talking about how Germany needs to get off Russian oil and gas, because if they don't, they're going to wind up in trouble. And the German delegation is laughing. That same German delegation is going to be handed a 30-year-old rifle now and sent to the front lines. Coming home to roost, I think, is a good way to put it. But we'll see how this turns out. I continue to be astonished at the way Europe is treating their people and the way that they're trying to squash any dissent. Never ends. Let's talk about this story last. This has got to be a record-breaking marathon here. I can't believe I'm still talking. Need a sip of coffee. I'm doing too much ripping, not enough sipping on these things. This is from friend of the show, Ben Rabidou. Some takeaways from a study from Stats Canada on foreign-born mothers. Number of foreign-born babies has surged, or babies born to foreign-born mothers has surged, thanks to the boom in temporary residence. Canadian mothers not having kids. Clearly a huge increase at the same time of newcomers. I love how he calls them newcomers. Ben is among the people, I think, who try to be impartial about this stuff, but the more he sees, the more radicalized he becomes, like the rest of us. And I suspect, I don't know Ben personally, but I suspect that there is a slow cascade into what I will call like medium and high income earning areas of the problems that, if you're in a low income earning area, you've already seen for a few years with immigration and immigrants, specifically those from India. We are not bringing in good people from India. You can pretend all you want. It's simply not the case. Everyone who's seen the Toronto crime reports over the last 2 years knows that it's, one thing after another. And so Ben is starting to point out, I think, correctly, that here he even talks about it here. Almost all the increases come from mothers born in India. They now account for over 10% of births in the country. That is a disaster for Canadians, an absolute disaster. 15% of the births in Ontario from Indian-born mothers. Now, here's the tweet I took issue with, and I retweeted this too. The study raises some uncomfortable questions. Why has the share of Canadian-born mothers fallen so rapidly? Lots of theories, but clearly cost of living is a big one. We're screwing the next generation with housing and rents at these levels. Is it that one? I forget. It might be this one, actually, the appropriateness of birthright citizenship, which we talked about earlier. There is a policy in place, and I think more coming down the pipe here, that temporary workers who come to Canada to, pick potatoes or whatever they're doing, if they have a kid here, the kid gets automatic citizenship. And then through other legislation, there's a chain migration possibility where that one kid can bring in 10 people or whatever, grandparents, aunts, uncles, dependents, not to mention the gamed asylum system, the gamed TFW system, the gamed LMIA system, the gamed, I think it's the workers or mobility or something system as well, international mobility. It's a disaster for Canada. And I am so tired of having to pretend that other cultures are equal to the culture that Canadians built. I had a conversation with a guy last week who I won't name, but we spoke on the phone. He is a prominent professional in the GTA. And, we spoke on the phone. He's a visible minority immigrant. And we had the same opinion on this policy, and specifically about this idea that there's no magic soil. Canada's not just a land mass where you can come here and be Canadian. The passport doesn't make you a Canadian. The LMIA doesn't make you a Canadian. And certainly this loophole where you get to become a Canadian citizen if you're born to temporary foreign workers does not make you Canadian. I hate to say that because it does, I think I carry some negative connotation, but think about it just from an objective standpoint here. The people coming from these countries, and it's not just India, but India is obviously the sort of country in the crosshairs here for a lot of reasons. These countries are in despair, desperation. They're full of scams and cons. There's tons of sexual crime, assaults. Women are treated poorly. People are dousing themselves in cow piss. Like this is not, these are not Canadian values. They're not adjacent to Canada. They're not adjacent to Canadian values. I hate to say this again, but there's a certain level of expectation as far as the people who come here, and that expectation has been dropping steadily. The best and brightest are not coming here through asylum claims. They're not coming here to drive for Amazon. And I do agree that people should have a shot at a better life if they have the sort of chops to make it happen. But what we've done is lower the bar so much and provide opportunities for people to, like we talked about here, have kids and stay forever because they drove a truck for Amazon or picked potatoes. It's not a reasonable policy position. It's just not. And people here can pretend all they want. And, you still get comments like this, like in the replies, dude, you'll still be white no matter what happens. Your kids and grandkids will be fine. Maybe one of them will marry an Indian girl and get invited to some fabulous parties. Like, this is an annoying comment because I'm going to get myself in trouble here, but there is something worth protecting about the Canada of years past. We all know, if you're a millennial or a Gen X, or even if you're an elder Zoomer, you remember what it was like to be able to go to the mall in the 90s and 2000s. There's no danger. There's no fights. There's nothing, right? And it wasn't about skin color. I say this all the time. I was born in the 90s. I played basketball at the highest level, like the highest level available, as a provincial AAA player. I got a lot of friends of a lot of different ethnicities, Black, Chinese, whatever. Like it was never a problem. It's not about skin color. It's about the people coming over. And the people coming over are just not cut out for this. It's sad, but the longer we let this go on, the more unpalatable the remedy will have to be. And that's even a dicey thing to say, but you guys get what I'm saying. You get what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's it for me. I can hear my daughter and my wife stirring upstairs. Marathon today. Come back tomorrow for the usual flagship show. We got a lot to talk about as always. And until next time, my friends, take care of yourselves.